how to commit processing on a stem, for example, if it was on a bus instead of on the track itself. People seem to be having issues with this. I've gotten this question a couple times, so I'm going to show you how I would do that. I made a video a while back on this. In this one, I'm going to specifically just focus on the buses. Like if you were to, I mean, it's the same process. It's just the understanding of where you do the commit from is the difference. So if you were to look at this track as your vocal track, now this is a delay verb bus. It has an echo boy delay into a metric halo dB verb. All right. Now, a lot of times when people use echoes or reverbs on their own track, you're doing it all the way wet. So this track should sound extremely reverbed, extremely delayed, because your dry wet blend is all the way up. And on an echo boy, the delay part of it, it might be the same. It could be a little less. Like, it depends how you're doing the sound design. But let's just say, for the argument of we could hear it the clearest if we turn it way up, let's just turn it up to a little over half, because let's say this was what was working in the mix and we liked it. So this is actually blending a little of the original signal into a dB verb. Most of the time for me, I'll go all the way wet if I do it on its own track and it's just for that purpose. In other words, how is your session routed? If you have your vocal, that's your main vocal, sent to bus 1 and 2, which in our case, let's call that the mix bus. All right, so I'm going to create another track, Shift Command N. We're going to come over here, stereo. We're going to call this a mix bus, okay? Just so everyone's on the same page. It takes no time. Make sure you use this search thing if you're dealing with Pro Tools. It makes things so easy. Never search through menus again. Just go to, if you click the track, search. Always go to search. Never go in here and find, it's crazy. When you're searching plugins, when you're searching buses, when you're searching outputs, go to search. It's like the biggest thing that while I'm giving lessons, people never do. I don't know why. It's way quicker. Now, bus 1 and 2, and you got A1314 is just my output. That's to my speakers, right? So if you notice, vocal and the delay verb, it's all going to 1 and 2. Okay, now, the reason that is because I need the dry vocal to get there, and I need the delayed signal with the verb to get there, right? So bus 5 and 6 on the vocal track, we have up however much we want. In this case, like -10 is fine. I have it on follow main pan because that just lines it up with this. So whatever you do on your vocal track, if you go left, it goes left. You go right, it goes right. If you don't have follow main pan on, it stays nowhere. It stays where it was, even though I went left, you see? So it's a critical thing to keep this on if you want it to move. Like, let's say you have 6 vocal tracks, 1 left, 1 right, 1 center. Just put follow main pan, that FMP on, and then you have your vocal on the left, will be in the left in whatever you create, wherever you're sending it, okay? So now that we're good, what are we doing next? Well, this is where people go wrong. If you were to just select this track, see vocal 1, the problem is that it just is going to print whatever's on vocal 1. So that means you'd have to have your, something, an 1176. Whatever you have on it, it's going to print that with an 1176 now. If you have nothing on it, like I just took this off, made it bypass, but I'll take it off for the sake of clarity. Now, it's going to print it totally clean. So too many people, I think, are committing. They're going in here, and then they're, control click. If you're I think it's the same Mac PC, pretty sure it's the same. I use a Mac only. So you control click, then you hit commit. Now this just gonna print this. So that's, I think, everyone's problem. If you want these effects, which if you notice 5, 6, see, this is being routed into this bus, you need to print from here. So that means you click this with the thing on it. You commit, control click, and then you go to commit. Now it will print with all this stuff on it. So I'll show you for the sake of argument. If I hit commit and then we chill for a sec, watch this. You get this menu. Make sure you have volume and mute Because let's say you have volume automation and mute automation, you want it. If you have pan automation, you're moving the pan, you want it. You want all this stuff most of the time. It's only a rare circumstance you might not want it. Like, let's say someone else is going to mix it and you want them to pan it wherever, and so maybe you leave that off. But if you're doing it and you're just trying to get all your stuff settled where you don't have the ability to make a ton of changes, that's the benefit to committing. You won't have to think about whether or not you should use this effect or not, or you just commit it as if you're working in the analog days, and then you deal with it. It's make decisions. It creates a better result. So once you've done that, what do you want here? Sends, group assignments, just make sure it's everything, because you might have all sorts of stuff that you want to be printed on here. Let's say you're stretching the audio or whatever. Let's say there's group stuff happening. Like, just keep it all on for the most part. This thing I leave off most of the time, and I think it's just because that's the default. When I pull it up, it leaves it off, so I leave it off. But sends, group assignments, elastic audio, and then insert after last track is fine. Source tracks, usually I like do nothing because it's easy enough to hide stuff, but some people want to make it inactive or delete or whatever, hide, make inactive. I just leave it on do nothing so that I can decide what I want, and also so I can compare. Sometimes it's helpful to compare to make sure, you got what you wanted. Sometimes, it helps. Keep offline checked, because otherwise it has to run in real time. So click OK. Now we have our stereo mix, which is what STEM stands for. STEM stands for stereo mix. It's just an acronym. That's all it is. And that's the first guy who created it was like, oh, a bunch of guitars on a guitar stem is a stereo mix of the guitars. STEM. Perfect. Stereo mix. 6 vocal tracks are a stereo mix of all the vocal tracks. STEM of the vocals. It's a vocal stem. That's what it is. You're taking multi-tracks, and usually you're putting bunches of them together to create your stem. It's a group of stuff. That's usually what it is. It's more than one thing. Now, in our case, we have one vocal with processing on it, and this is what I would refer to as the delay reverb stem. And it needs to exist separate from the vocal. So in this case, you would want to print a clean one, and you'd want to print the version with the stuff on it, because if you did that, now you'd have your dry vocal and your reverb delay vocal that you can import into a session, and once blended together, you have the same sound as you had when you were listening to your session. Whereas if you just print this, you'll just have the delayed reverb sound, and if you just print this, you'll just have a clean sound. So you need both. So that would mean, you could highlight both, shift, click, and then commit that so that you also get the dry one. And if you do that, I find with a whole session, like, you'll be okay at the end, where you'll have this bunch of tracks that are now the processed versions. So you've just committed maybe auto-tune or an EQ setting, or whatever you have in your whole session. Do it all at once. Don't go one track at a time. It makes way more sense to do it all at once. So, but what I'm saying is you need to do it on both the dry vocal track, or even if you had an 1176 on it or something else, or 3 plugins, or auto-tune and 5 plugins, 6 de-essers, whatever. You print this thing with this. So you click this, you click this, you click all your drum, everything, and then all at once, control click and then commit. That's definitely the move. And now if we were to listen to this, I'll just show you what this track sounds like. So I'm going to put Source Nexus on here for a moment. What that track is, okay, is this track with reverbs and delays on it. So listen to what this sounds like. Were you cuckoo cannonball? Were you cuckoo cannonball? All right, so now that we're all on the same page with that, I think where everyone goes wrong is they route their session maybe in a different way, so it's confusing to them. That's the thing. There's so many different ways you could work, and this stuff is so easily cleared up with a one-on-one, but it's hard to clear up when I have no idea how you're routing your session, except I'm going to go through the most common things people might do. Let's say you're just sending your vocal and 3 others. So Shift Option D gives me duplicate. Hold Shift, then Option, then D. Now, let's say these are 3 different tracks. I would never just duplicate the vocal like this in 3 different ways and then leave nothing on them. But let's just assume that this is like harmony 1. Let's say this is harm 2. Let's say this is harm 3. So we have vocal, harmony 1, 2, and 3. Now, let's say you're sending all of these tracks to a vocal bus that combines all your vocals together. So the routing is technically the same. Let's accept the difference is instead of it being on a send, so I'm taking the sends off, just inactive, we're going to send directly here. So what I do is now that they're all highlighted, hold Shift, hold Option, then you click over here, and now I'm going to go to the search, and we're looking for bus 5, 6. So it sends all these vocals to this bus. Now, maybe this is down the center, this is left, this is right, this one's down the center. Okay, so now that we're over here, we have an 1176 on it, and maybe you have other stuff. It could be anything. Maybe it's another compressor, maybe it's dB verb. Just for the sake of hearing what it is, I'm going to throw dB verb on there too, so there's just no question as far as what went on it. But maybe because all the vocals are being sent here and there's no direct, clean, dry signal being sent anywhere else, I'm just going to turn this down so it's not like overwhelmed with reverb. Now, that was the dry wet blend. Just to be able to tell for certain, I could come in here and hit it with auto tune and just sort of shift this stuff all over the place. Let's transpose in auto tune so you could hear what I'm talking about. We're going to go up a third on this one. We're going to come over here. We're going to go up a fifth on this one. We're going to come over here. We're going to go up an octave on this one. Now that we're sitting pretty over here, we got multiple different tracks, so you'll clearly hear the difference in sound. We've got multiple tracks, the original flavor, the one that's transposed, another transpose, another transpose. We come over here, we hit Control, click this, commit, make sure this stuff's all on. If you're wondering what consolidate clips is, let me just tell you that real quick. Let's say you punched 100 times while you were making this vocal track. So that means you've got all these different clips. See, you notice how it says 017-10? Look, when I change this, it changes the name 107-12 because it's a different clip. In other words, every time you make a break for a punch, it's actually another clip. And what will happen is if you didn't, let's say you wanted not to have all these regions. Well, the first thing I would do is just highlight every region that's a break because you may hear a click or a pop or whatever. Apple F, batch fade, all that stuff. You know, Command F, because that just fades in and out of each section. You see how it created a crossfade? So now you won't have your clicks and your pops, right? And now, let's say you didn't want this to be like that anyway. You wanted to consolidate. That's exactly what consolidate means. It means remove the regions. So if we were to just select this track right here, edit, consolidate clip, boom, consolidate. So I'm selecting the bus itself. That's going to give me all of this into it with this because of the routing, because it's all sent. Each track's being sent to this input. Control click it, commit, boom. Now we got our track. I'm going to send this to an output just so I can hear it myself. So you could hear the reverb. You hear how it sounds like a bag of cats because there's 100, in our case, 3 different weird harmonized vocals that wasn't thought out or planned or nothing. But the point is, it printed all this stuff with all these effects plus these effects, and all you had to do is do it from the bus because of the routing. If it was routed different, where this hit the mix bus and then whatever you have here is also just its own set of effects going to the mix bus, you would want to print both so that when whoever's mixing it is mixing it, they don't just get the effect version, they get the one that also goes to the mix bus dry, essentially, or with an 1176 or with tuning or whatever. You would want both. So it's really, you have to think this stuff through. There's no one size fits all. There's no one-stop shop. Everything we do in mixing, there's these nuances that make all the difference. And I hope that helped. I hope it made some sense. And if you have any other questions, throw it in there. But you guys got this, all right? Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. Leave questions, comments, answers, all of it. I appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Talk to you guys soon. Anything else you want me to cover that you don't know, want to understand further, or just want my take on it, let me know. You guys got this. Take it easy.